Hello, and welcome, Amanda Mattis. She's
I
here,
made it.
and Chris made it as well. And she's here tonight to discuss with us brand ambassadorship and groomer bashing. So, welcome, Amanda. Amanda owns
Mhm.
uh, Celtic Canine with Marilyn Green, and they have a beautiful salon. In Pennsylvania, and they make collars and snoods, leg protectors for dogs. And her, it's
And beautiful
hard
smocks.
work and beautiful smocks. The only
Aw,
smocks I wear, and
thanks, guys.
oh, they're so nice. All right, so let's dive right in. All right,
Well, thanks for having me.
thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. So, can you help us with what are brand ambassadors?
Okay, so to start this off, it wouldn't be me unless one of my AirPods went shooting out to the left.
I
So
just
bear
saw it.
with me. Did you see that?
I was like, was that?
All right, so
Oh,
I'm going to
God.
talk, hold this one in. While I'm talking, I'm going to delve for the other one because the last AirPod my golden retriever ate. So that was fun. All right, so to
Oh,
me,
no.
a brand ambassador, um, it means different things to different people. But to me personally, I did look it up today, and on Wikipedia, I seem to have the same understanding as they do. Brand ambassador to me is somebody that a company or corporation hires to be a spokesperson for that company or corporation or organization, to view them in a positive light, to spread awareness about the brand, and to also translate that awareness back into sales. That's technically for me what a brand ambassador is.
Mhm.
Okay. Um,
I would
so
agree with that.
Yeah,
when
that
did
sounds right.
you decide when you're for your company to take on brand ambassadors?
Okay, well, the first thing you got to do as a company is actually make sure that you are a branded company. So people have a
What does that
basic,
mean?
well, people have a basic recognition of when they see the logo, the colors, the whole marketing behind it. We
Okay.
know that Coca-Cola is red and white with the wave
Mhm.
and so on. So I wanted a very strong logo and brand. And once I was happy with the way things were going there, and I was sure that I had a firm brand, then I decided, okay, so I'm going to start maybe to think about taking on my own brand ambassadors. Um, I wanted more awareness in the industry, and in the grooming industry, it's really hard to advertise. You can advertise yourself, obviously. The other way is in Groomer to Groomer magazine, but once a month. I wanted something that was a constant. So there were so many shows that I'm like, as a way of advertising and getting awareness out about my company, um, let me take on a brand ambassador. And there goes another one.
It's
Oh,
not
this is
you.
going to be a fun one.
I can't get them to stay in my ears either. It's
No,
not
I
you.
can't
They
either.
don't
I
work for
gave
me.
up on them.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
terrible. These ones are way too big.
I have to
Um,
get the ones with the hook.
that's
I
what I'm
have to
going
Oh
to
get
my
have
the
to
god.
do.
I have to get the squishy ones. I can't get the apple ones. They don't.
Mhm. They're
You hate me.
huge. So then I ran the financials because you've got to be able to afford a brand ambassador. These people don't come free because it's their time and their effort that you have to compensate them for. So when I ran the financials for one brand ambassador, I'm like, okay, that's perfect. We can afford to do that and we'll put it through as advertising. So everything
Mhm.
that we pay that brand ambassador, it goes under the heading of advertising and the bookkeeping part of it. Just looking at some points here so I don't, miss out on what I wanted to kind of get across. And then the next step was picking the right person. And that was really important. So once I made sure that I was branded, I needed more awareness. Now I need to advertise. Now I want a brand ambassador. I can afford it as a company. And now let's pick the right person. So that's what happened with that.
So how did you choose the right person?
Ah, ha, ha, ha. Okay. All right. For me personally, I was in a very good position to talk about this because I have been a brand ambassador for two different companies. My first was Marshmallow, the DMAT with Faith Chipman, fabulous company. I actually used her products. And the second company was Evolution Shears, also used their products. Big shout out to E3. Um, and then as I transitioned with my own company and I started to take on my own brand ambassador, it was all of the things that the experience that I had as being one came into play. So, how did I choose? The first thing I did was, and I'm going to say this out straight, I made a short list of 5 people that I really had my eye on. And nobody, not one of them was in open level. They were all competitors, but there was 2 in entry level and 3 in intermediate level. So you don't have to be an open level competitor to be considered as a brand ambassador. The second thing I did was I looked at their online presence, their social media presence. Are they on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, the works? Um, the one thing I did not do, but most companies do when they're considering taking on, is I did not look at how many followers these people had or how many friends they had online, which kind of goes against the grain because most companies want, their ambassadors to have a huge online presence or
Mhm.
following.
Sure.
The number one thing for me was the ethics and morality of the people. I can't have somebody who is going to be wearing my logo in the competition ring or around the shows that is a dog abuser
Mhm.
or gets drunk
Mhm.
or or makes a complete ass of themselves.
Mhm.
So I had to find, I started to shortlist it down real quick. So I stalked their social media, and you can actually scroll back years if you've got the time to put into it on
Mhm.
somebody's social media. Um, Believe it or not, from that short list of 5, after I went to scrolling, there was one left.
Oh.
She won, yeah, and she ticked every box.
Mhm.
And that was my very first brand ambassador. I had met her in person, which I think is very important than just never meeting them. And,
Yeah.
you could be friends on social media. I'd met her in person. I'd seen how she handles dogs. I'd seen how she handles any rumors or gossip thrown at her. She
Mhm.
zips her lip. She doesn't engage in battles in any of the grooming groups. She has a nice, steady. Now, I know her personally, and she's a very good friend now. And let me tell you, she's got a ton of opinions about a ton of things. You never know that.
Mhm.
She was professional,
Mhm.
just like you, Angie. You're nice and professional until you get to know you.
Yeah, behind closed doors. You're a little
Oh, you're still
um,
human. You're just
yeah.
professional.
Yeah, I have opinions. I just
Mhm.
don't express them publicly.
So that's basically how I chose the person, the
Okay.
very first one.
So now, if somebody wants to be a brand ambassador, but they're not a competitor, is that possible?
110%. The third brand ambassador that I took on was my poodle mentor. She's in the show world. She is a breeder of merit and shows poodles, and her name is Tammy. She's not a competitor. She maybe goes to Atlanta, but the Atlanta show because it's an hour away from her. She's not on the circuit, but same thing applied. Now, Tammy is very outspoken. I love her to death. She's very, you know, dead strong in the poodle world, no merles, no this, no that. And I respect her for that.
Mhm.
Um, she was the perfect person. And to be quite honest, we'll get to it a little bit down the line. I don't have any of my team anymore. I disbanded it last summer. But if I still had my team, I would have grabbed Angie Coates. She's not a competitor. I've said this to you before. An educator is a seminar speaker. You don't have to be a competitor to be a brand ambassador. And by the way, there's a big difference between a sponsorship and a brand ambassador. So that's something that people should know the difference of as well.
So, speaking of which, what is the difference between a sponsorship and a brand ambassador?
Okay, so I'll speak just on kind of my experience with it. A brand ambassador is kind of like a temporary contract, whether you have it verbal or in writing. As a company, you've got more control over what happens with a brand ambassador. You can terminate at any time. They get paid upon receipt of work. Most of the time. With a sponsorship, a full sponsorship, and they some of the top open level Groom Team USA members are on a full sponsorship. They get a set amount each year, along with travel expenses, hotels, competition entries, and all of that paid. So they're on a retainer full time. So that to me is the difference between sponsorship and ambassadorship.
Yeah, that's significant. So, with a sponsorship, now, how much, say for a brand ambassador, what are the responsibilities of a brand ambassador?
Okay, so I have a short list of what I want in a brand ambassador when I took them on. And at the final count, I had 5, which is a lot for a very small company. The number one thing is conduct themselves in a professional manner at shows and in their presence online. That doesn't mean I'm trying to silence their voice. From time to time, huge world issues come up and we all get heated. We can all be very, very vocal about it. We all have our opinions. I just don't want somebody who's going to incite a freaking riot on every single issue that comes up. I want somebody who's level. If they go off the walls one day, fair enough. That's your opinion. It's not my right to silence you, but I would like you to think about the ramifications, because I work blood, sweat, and tears for this company to have this and to have somebody associated with it or wearing the logo, or they're like, oh my God, that's Celtic Canine's freaking, look at the state of her. She's wasted drunk, or she's a racist, or she's a dog abuser. No, that's not happening. So responsible, professional manner, that's definitely number one. The number 2 thing, very important to me, you have to use the products.
Right.
I won't take on somebody that wasn't a client. Every single one of the ambassadors that I had were a client first. And I have a big issue with an ambassador that does not use at least some of the products some of the time. You don't have to use them exclusively. Let's get real. But, so
But you're a spokesperson for your company. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it would help.
mhm.
The other thing is the responsibilities. If they want to share on social media, I would love them to do that. Now, I know it was never a requirement with me. I know that there are companies out there. Some companies, they had nearly 20 brand ambassadors, right? And they fenced it off into top tier and then lower level, which created a divide. It was supposed to be a team, but it created a divide. I'm probably going to get ripped a new one for even saying this, but may as well spill some tea. They all had to post a certain amount at a certain time each week. They were on a schedule. They all had to reach a certain amount of followers. So the pressure on these groomers, oh my God, I got to get more followers. I got to make more content. And their content was getting sloppy and it was full of inaccuracies. So my whole point is there's another one. If my brand ambassadors wanted to share, I would love that, but it was never a requirement. The other responsibility that they had to me was they were my eyes and ears on social media. Nobody can be on 24/7. And there's a ton of groups. So if they seen something popping up somebody puts up, um, oh, where'll I get a cute smock? And somebody else puts up Celtic Canine, and somebody else goes, no, I didn't like it for whatever reason. I don't necessarily want them to jump in there and defend me blindly. I want them to alert me so I can go in and
Mhm.
defend me. So eyes and ears. Um, so that they were basically, it was very, very lax. You know, I did not have a written contract. I had a handshake agreement.
Mhm.
They were all adults, and I expected them to act like adults, you know, and it worked out. So
Okay. So now, what responsibilities do you have as a company to a brand ambassador?
okay, well, obviously the first one is to pay them. All right. Now,
Who
And
knew?
well, pay them. You would not believe how many brand ambassadors are out there for companies, and they don't. They get promised the world, and they don't even get their entry fees covered. Or you get to hear, and we'll give you that.
Mhm.
So paying, again, the verbal agreement. This is what, if you will do this, I will do that.
Mhm.
So that was the first one. Conduct the company in an ethical manner. Now, Michelle, you're the only one here who doesn't know me. The other two do, and they know I have the worst potty mouth and I can be just a little bit wild. But all of that changed.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know. The minute I actually took on my first brand ambassador before I took on um, Marilyn as a partner. Marilyn's my sister-in-law, who's now co-owner of Celtic Canine.
Mhm.
So the minute Rachel was the first one, the minute she came on board, everything that I wanted to post, I had to stop and think about because it's the exact role reversal.
Mhm.
If I conduct myself or the company in an unprofessional manner, it reflects on her. So I got to
Mhm.
keep it what I ask from them, I've got to give back. So that was the two of them. Be a resource for them. There have been times when I've opened up. I'm like, here, you need a hotel room, jump in with us. Come out
Mhm.
for dinner with us. There's always a dinner for the brand ambassadors at the shows. Um, a shoulder to cry on. It's kind of like being a den mother. You
Mhm.
know, I
Yeah.
get those 11 p.m. phone calls and,
Mhm.
oh
Yep.
my God, this is going wrong, that's going wrong. And I didn't mind them. But when you have five females, five different, very personalities, it became a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Just 5 people, let alone females, are a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
yeah,
of personalities to try and mesh together.
that's true.
So, what is your advice for companies that want to start a team?
Okay, here we go. All right. Number one thing is make sure you can afford it. Run the financials. Let's say you're a small company and you've got two employees, yourself and somebody else. Run the financials because you've got to determine what are you going to pay your brand ambassadors once you pick them. What are you going to pay them? The basic rule of thumb for a lot of small companies is they pay their entry fees. So entry fees for most competitions, it can be up to $139.
Right.
But if you've got one brand ambassador and she's entering four competitions that weekend, that adds up real quick.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
So now, can you imagine if you have five of them all go into the same show, like Hershey, a big show, and they're all competing? It runs in the thousands. And
Mhm.
that's before the ambassador meal, and that's before all of the shirts. These all cost money. It costs money to get your logo. It's
Mhm.
a backwards and forwards. Make sure that you run the financials on everything from the clothes right down to if you can afford it. Second thing I would advise a company is a written contract. I
Mhm.
did it on a handshake, a gentleman's agreement, um, as we call it in Ireland. A written contract, you're going to both at least know what to expect from that.
Sure.
So I'd advise that. Do so much research into the people that you are considering. Because somebody emails you and says, hey, are you taking on any brand ambassadors? You know, you can be polite and say, no, not at this time, but take their name, number, look them up, do your research, because it only takes a year of scrolling back and you'll see red flags, or you'll be in a grooming group and you'll be like, oh, okay, you're getting knocked off the list. The other thing is only take on a brand ambassador for a short period of time, kind of like when you hire a new groomer. So you're on a 90-day trial period. Do that, because people, they're very nice in the beginning. We all know that perfect, they're, as they get more comfortable, their real personality does shine out. And the final for a company that wants to take on a brand ambassador, don't do what I did and take on 5 in a year. Don't be stupid. Take on one at a time.
Yeah.
Give yourself at least 6 months. Settle into that. Realize how much it takes to run one ambassador. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. It takes a lot out of your personal time and financial. And then after 6 months, you'll have had ample time to go and look and feel comfortable taking on another. Again, then give yourself some more time. So that's what I would advise for companies.
Now, what would you advise for someone who is looking to become a brand ambassador?
All right. I said I wasn't going to curse, and I'm not. So,
Can I curse?
yeah.
Chris can. She
They
can't help.
know. They know my mouth. So they still love me.
They do.
Okay.
Thank God.
So, advice for people: keep your backside clean, keep your social media clean. That's the number one thing. Try to be very level-headed. Try not to jump into groomer bashing, that whole pack mentality thing, which I know you'll be discussing in a while. It didn't. It wasn't a big issue for me, but a lot of companies want to see that you have a strong online presence. And that does unfortunately include followers. Be careful with the content that you make. When you are trying to gain followers, don't be sloppy about it. Make sure that the facts are correct. If you're making a video on how to trim nails, for example, make sure that your handling skills are on point, all of those basic things. Conduct yourself professionally at shows, out in public, as well as online. Be responsible and communicate. If companies do reach out to you, communicate in a timely fashion back to them. Here's a good one. Actually use and share and show that you have a passion for the products that you want to be put on as an ambassador for. It's great once every 6 months going, look, I got a new pair of Kenchi shears or whatever, and then that's it. But Kenchi ain't going to pick you up for that. You've got to be consistent, use, share, mean it. I mean, it's really easy to see if somebody actually means it. What else do we have? Oh, here's a good one too. Consider the company that you want to align yourself with. Okay, everybody wants to be picked up by Artero. Christ's sake, I'm not even a groomer anymore, and I want to be picked up by Artero. Who doesn't? But now I'm just saying Artero are a fabulous company, but there are other big companies out there that personally don't align with my morals and ethics. They do some shady shit. Sorry, I cursed.
But we're groomers here.
No,
We're
did
talking
that.
groomers, so you're fine.
No.
Someone Maloney here dropping the F-bomb every other episode we're doing here. I think we're okay.
I am officially the person you can't have on speakerphone when your kid is in the room. So
Or at work.
or at work.
Oh my God.
She hit me with that one when I was walking in the door one time and I had a customer behind me. I'm like, gotta go back.
Oh, I didn't know you were at work.
I know. You didn't know the customer was behind me. You knew I was at work. You didn't know the customer was behind me. Yeah. Oh, no. Kelsey Ann Sexton said penny in the swear jar. No. We're into hundreds at this point.
If I put a penny in the square jar,
There wouldn't be any room for pennies in the whole place.
I would not be in any debt, or maybe I would because it would all be in the square jar.
It would all be in the swear jar. You would not have a drive.
I would have a mobile grooming van and a bigger house by now. That's all I'm saying. Anywho. And more Celtic canine collars.
I already told you no today.
She did. She did.
Wow,
and-
that's pretty bad. You got it pretty bad if she's not going to sell you one more.
Right. And I don't even, it's just, she just knows. She just knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
It's bad.
So that's basically it. The very, very last thing was, after you consider the company that you want, just take a look, who are their current brand ambassadors, and take a look, do you want to be aligned with them also, because your name is going to be connected to them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And sometimes forever.
Unfortunately, sometimes yes.
You know,
Sometimes.
yeah.
And things can happen that your brand ambassador might not be even aware of, and they get caught up in stuff, and then you get caught up in stuff, and they're like, I didn't, but it was, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
Chris, we had that very, very thing happen.
yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was completely unintentional of your brand ambassador, and
It
she
was.
didn't know, but you got rolled and you got dragged into it and dragged in the muck, and she felt awful.
She did. But
So-
you know, everything was a lesson.
And I'm also gonna reiterate, use and love the product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to be passionate about it.
Yeah.
You know, and think about it when you go to the shows, the people out there in our audience. Think about when you do go to shows, or you do talk to a company, or you do encounter an ambassador of someone. You know, are they so passionate about what they're being sponsored to speak about, that they're going to show you and make you feel good about purchasing that product? You know, that's really the name of the game. It does come right down to business, but good business means so much more than just the money. It means ethics. It means friendliness. It means passion about the product. It means quality. And you're building friendships that may last a lifetime of the groomer. So, I mean, it's really important to have the trifecta of that, you know, going for you. So I think it's really important being passionate and having a good product to be passionate about. Sometimes the product will sell itself, and sometimes it just makes you feel like it's easy because the product is so quality. So,
Yep. I agree.
And that's the way it should be. You should love it like that, where it doesn't feel like work, that you're just talking about it because this is one of your favorite things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like,
Kayla brings up a good point. She said there are companies I still won't spend money at because of who they sponsor. And I personally would never align myself with a company that I didn't 100% believe in. So glad you brought that stuff up.
Is that
And-
Kayla Courteau?
Yeah,
Haha, I love her. She's great.
she
I don't
is.
know
She's
why
awesome.
I'm not seeing the comments.
And I don't know.
I don't know. Sorry.
They're in Pet Groomer Town Hall.
Well, they're usually on the. No.
Yeah, you just pull up the chat.
You broke it.
I broke it. Well, I can usually see it in Restream.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'm seeing them over here. That's what
Yeah, I
So
see
I'm
And-
spoiled.
I agree with that wholeheartedly because, all right, so I'm a brand ambassador for All for Groomers and for Evolution Shears. I have 23 pair of shears, and they're Evolution Shears. And
And
I'm about to buy my 24th.
but do you pay for sharpening for those?
I don't. I don't. And it's lovely because
Because you're a brand ambassador.
I'm brand ambassador. So that is a lovely perk because I use my shears a lot. I'm an old groomer. I've been doing this 35 years. I scissor a lot. So I mean, that's what I'm used to. So my shears get a lot of wear and tear. And I am grooming a lot of soft coated animals, so bunnies.
Mhm.
And that's, I mean,
They
That's
need to be
terrifying.
crisp.
yeah, it's
They
it's a
need
lot.
to be crisp.
Mhm.
And I'm glad you said the thing, Amanda, about the contract, because you need to know what to expect.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, on a lot of, and okay, we started talking about evolution shears, and I'm going completely off script. Um,
Run with it.
we're a smaller company. We have very few brand ambassadors, and we're like, we don't ask you to do a whole lot. It's mostly eyes and ears. Just or tag me if you see something, tag me in it, and or tag somebody, or let us know what's going on, and because if someone's unhappy, we want to know about it.
Yeah.
We want to be able to fix it, but we don't always know about it because people don't always tell us. So yeah, we do have one competitor who gets some help with entry fees and stuff, and also sharpening, but that's because we generally ask so little. And I want to say something, but I don't want this to come across as groomer bashing, because it's not, because competing is so darn expensive.
It is.
So when people going and asking if, hey, do you want to sponsor me? You can't necessarily blame them, because that's
Yeah.
very expensive. But at the same time, it's tricky with shear companies,
Mhm.
because it's like, as Amanda said, these entry fees get expensive. Well, do you use our shears? Well, no, but I guess I can.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I can't see walking up to anyone asking to be their ambassador and not have used their products or have them in my toolbox already.
That's
because
That would
then
seem very strange to me.
because then it looks weird. Like if you're out there competing with an E3 logo on and using another brand shears, what does that say about our shears?
Well, that's like Anne Francis I'm not sure if she's a brand ambassador or she's sponsored
She's
by Andis.
Andis. I think she's sponsored by, she's an Andis educator. She's like
Okay.
a very official Andis educator.
So if I saw Anne doing a demo and using a wall clipper, I'd be like,
Okay, what's happening, right?
I would lose my mind. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Especially because she has the benefit of the counter being right over there to pick up anything she needed.
Yes. And I'm sure she would. I'm sure that wouldn't happen.
And now you've got to do that for April Fool's Day at Intergroom.
oh, yeah.
See
Oh
if
my
anybody
God.
picks it up.
Have everybody
Somebody-
switch over.
Somebody needs to tell Anne to do this. She'll just be like, wall. And everybody's going to be like, what?
Well, should I
She can
should
pull
I
my hands
officially should I officially come clean about April Fools? Well, see, April Fools is not going to be on Intergroom this year. Should I officially come clean about the googly eyes?
It was you. I knew it.
Oh yeah, it was totally me.
How did you not figure that out? is
How
all
did
I
you
wanna know.
not figure that out? I did enlist some minions. There were people who helped in shenanigans.
Mhm.
I was signing in for a competition. They were all over the judges' table.
Joey
And-
was mad.
Uh-huh.
Joey was mad, and
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I handed the bag of googly eyes to the person who did do that. So, but I didn't officially googly that. And I still say there's one company that I should have gotten a commission, because I discovered that their dryers, if you put the googly eyes just right, it looked exactly like a face. It was phenomenal.
Mhm.
I missed
They-
out on all the googly eyed fun until after I was like, why are the googly eyes everywhere?
Mhm.
And then I looked at Chris And she was like, and I'm like, oh, you were totally guilty. That's totally you. I know that was you. I can tell just by that little
Oh my gosh.
was it
Oh,
me?
me.
And I'm like, because I was just like, have you noticed there's like googly eyes everywhere? Is it just me?
And Sue and Jay were sports about it because they got googly. I like people's logos. If anybody had a dog on their booth, the dog got
Googly eyes.
googly eyed, even if it was an outline.
Mm-hmm.
I would like, okay, I'm sorry if the adhesive damaged anyone's product. That's as far as I will go because I may have a potty mouth, but I'm not a liar. So I can't be sorry that occurred.
If I received new products that I had ordered and they had googly eyes on them, they would stay there. They live there now because that would be amazing.
Oh,
But that's
that
just me
happened.
personally.
That happened with the dryers.
Uh-huh.
That people bought the dryers and the company was like, "Oh, do you want us to take the googly eyes off?" And
They're like,
everyone was
"No,
like,
that's where I bought
"No, it's the
Yeah,
best."
I remember
I'm
that.
like,
I was standing next to a girl that was like, no, that's why I bought that one.
see,
And they were
I
like,
should have gotten a commission. Just saying.
okay. And so her friend came over and said, do you have another one in that color with the googly eyes? And they're like, no, they don't come with googly eyes. And she's like,
That's
well,
even better.
hers did. And they're like, well,
Well, I'm not going to buy that dryer then.
we can peel them off this one and put them on. She was like, never
Oh,
mind.
no.
Yeah.
I did give them
End up
some.
buying the dryer because they didn't have any more googly eyes. And the guy's looking at me like, am I in like the Twilight Zone? Am I in some kind of weirdo dream? What is wrong with these people? I'm just
And
looking at
The
them.
maniacal thing is that those googly eyes come like as big as dinner plates.
Yeah.
Like they come in every freaking size.
I have googly eyes on my toolkit that are this big. And the bar that you move the toolkit with, that's his mouth.
Mhm.
His name is Larry.
I
made
It was
little
so
eyebrows.
it was so bad at Dallas. The hotel, the host hotel at the Dallas show or Dallas Fort Worth, the ISEC show.
Mm.
I walked into the ladies' room attached to the restaurant that was in the host hotel, and there was like a donkey. And I walked in, and I looked at it, and I went, oh, I'm getting blamed for that. I didn't do it. I didn't do it, but I'm getting blamed for that.
Oh yeah, you totally were.
And I was. I got like 3 texts. Did you? Because it was a donkey, like a picture of a donkey, and someone else had googly eyed it. And I'm like, I'm getting blamed. I should just say I did it.
Just
Don't let her go to any museums.
No.
Oh my God! Imagine her in the Louvre.
No.
Oh, God.
I would not. I would. Oh
She'd just
no.
be arrested.
I
We
would
can-
not. Actually,
Are
though,
we digressing?
first of all,
yeah.
I was about to hold it back and say we're digressing. Second of all, I would not. I would not. I have very strong opinions about people who throw soup at priceless art.
I feel that so deeply. Yeah.
Points. And
It's useless. And,
I could agree
destructive.
with them on so much, but I'm like,
No, I just want to smack you because you're ruining the future for other generations.
yes,
And don't do that. That's not. That's not.
yes.
Good. So now we are going to wiggle on into groomer bashing because
Yes.
Mary's not here, so we can go to mine. So I have noticed a trend, and one of the reasons I wanted to put this on there is it's an unfortunate trend because I love seeing groomers toot their own horn. I love it. I want to see your beautiful grooms.
Mhm.
I want to see the magic you are creating. I want to see your pictures of all the things, and I want to see the pictures in your photo booth, or I don't care if it's AI.
I
Show-
want to see your first try.
Yes,
Show me your first try. Show me that you're passionate and excited about learning more.
right. I want to see this. What I don't like to see is when a groomer says, I did this dog and it came out beautiful. And the other groomer said this dog was this and that, and I did better. And that. Stop.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Stop. I understand that that groomer didn't agree with that dog didn't agree with that groomer,
Mhm.
but you don't do that.
Mm-mm.
I am glad that you found that you fit with the dog. I'm glad the dog found you to fit with,
Mhm.
but you don't need to slap somebody else in the face
Mhm.
to show me that you can do a good groom. That's not cool.
Mhm.
It's not, and
It's not cool.
to play devil's advocate, not defending that behavior, but saying, okay, maybe they're coming from a place of they don't necessarily understand or realize that that's what it looks like, that they're just so excited and they want to promote a particular handling style.
They're not promoting a handling style, though.
They're promoting themselves, though.
They're
So how
promoting
do we,
themselves.
so how do we, if that happens, because then we
Take the
don't
other
want to
person out of it.
publicly,
It
but-
doesn't matter what the last groomer did. The last groomer's not there.
yeah.
Mhm.
You
But
groom the dog. So
is there
that's all you need.
any way to nicely say, and let's take this with the comments too, is there any way to nicely say, hey, not cool?
That's a good question. So how do you say when you see something like that?
Oh, I'll tell you, because
Oh.
that is I am expertise at
Okay.
that. I will mama bear my students, especially because esthetician work itself isn't widely recognized.
Right.
Especially when you have a win. That's the proof in the pudding. I don't care where you learned it. If you did that, that's amazing. And you ought to be able to post that just as well as any other groom that's in proportion or a new skill that they learned or whatever. And you know the one I'm thinking about, don't you? Back a while, I mean, it was kind of a mess, but I stay very instructor-like, and I stay, even if they're just pounding me with just hatefulness, I'm like, you know what? I wish you well. But this is something you're going to be seeing more of, and you guys got to get used to this. This is an actual branch of grooming of the industry that so many people now are getting into. You're going to be seeing these, and they're amazing. And I think the one critique they have that's hateful is that you won't tell them. You're gatekeeping the knowledge of how to do that. And I'm like, that's a whole class. That's a whole course. That's a whole course of learning. It's not just a cream. It's not just a shampoo or a technique. It's everything that they
all
learn.
the things.
Yeah. So, I mean, I
can't
just tell them I
explain-
wish them well, and perhaps in the future they'll learn the value of what we're looking at. And then I just move on, or I'll tell them that I'm not going to argue with them. They're entitled to their opinion and I'm entitled to mine. But I don't back down. I don't block people. Normally, I'm sure that I have blocked one or two people in my entire career, but I don't block. I'd like to open a channel of communication. I think that's more important than anything. And when you're in those moments, the best thing you could do is lead by example. If you start flying off the handle and calling somebody names and, being whatever, you failed. You have failed to lead by example. So even if they're just calling you horrifying things and just saying you're worthless and this, that, and the other, you know what? I wish you well. I don't wish any harm upon you. I hope that you grow, and I hope we all grow together. And that's really, to me, in my opinion, that's probably the best way to handle anything of that nature. Just like heaping hot coals of shame on them because you're treating them so kindly. And Angie and Chris will vouch for that I do live by that motto. I really, really do. I try my very best to be kind, even if it's toward a perceived enemy or someone who perceives me as an enemy. I just don't think that it is conducive to growth. If you become like them, don't get to that level. Just say, you know what? I'm going to stay right here and I'm going to stay loving and kind.
Yeah.
And one of the comments, it's like if you post a breed standard trim and you don't explain how you did every step of the way, you're not gatekeeping how to do that trim. There's years of experience you can't explain in one post. And Angie, can I get controversial for a moment? I don't know. Nobody knows what's ever going to fly out of my mouth. And a part of me
You know what?
is like,
I'm willing to roll the dice on that.
it's like, why
Andy's not here,
do people
and
still
I'm
like
in
me?
the
Stuff is
captain's
just
seat.
flies.
So full steam ahead, Scott.
So there's what's been
No.
in that realm of groomer bashing. It's not just the bashing somebody like by pulling yourself up. There is posting things you don't understand.
Right.
There's been a lot of recently someone taking, and I think it's more than one person, taking screenshots from an education group that were posted there
for education.
for education purposes. And a part of me gets it. Like I do and I don't get it, because it was specifically when you're doing hand stripping, and I am not like a super great hand stripper. I have knowledge like me. A lot of times when you're starting it off, you'll bald areas in stages. You can either stage the coat or roll the coat. So most of us are more used to seeing rolled coats. So when we see a coat that's being staged, it's alarming, because it's not down to PJs. It's down to skin. It is naked patches.
Yeah, like
What's funny is that that's all I thought hand stripping was for a really long time. So when I saw a rolled coat, the first thing I thought in my mind was, ooh, they're lazy. And I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I came from the opposite side back to a rolled coat, which was shocking to me.
I learned the staging as well. I had never seen a rolled coat until I had been grooming 10 years.
But what makes me crazy and sad is that when I'm Gen X. I had all the questions when I was a kid, as we all did. And I got all the lies. I got all you ask your parents, and they just, if you're lucky, they tell you to go look it up in the encyclopedia. If
Like
you're not, they
Britannica,
make
man.
some nonsense up. We can find knowledge and misinformation, but we can find answers to our questions in seconds. And it's like, what a time to be alive at level exciting. So when that happens, and all you had to do, if you're like, well, that looks, it's an education group, ask a question. And I wound up almost feeling bad for the person that did that, because not only did they get yelled at in the education group, it did not go as planned where they posted it.
No.
Because everybody went, do you not, this is a
Yeah, absolutely.
So when your temptation is to post or to share or to screenshot from one group to another, which is a little meh to begin with, just Google some stuff first.
Not only that, just
Educate.
as it pertains to hand stripping,
Yeah.
any breed club has a little manual on how to strip out that wire. They have it already in there with pictures and procedures and how many inches to leave and how much undercoat to leave, like the whole 9 yards. And just call the breed standard, call the breed club of your area, and they have that already. You know, you get questions all the time in your email. Well, or online in a group. Well, what about this? You know, can you do this? I'm like, we're connected to the knowledge of the universe by our phone.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And my brain explodes literally every day that I can have a random question about the most obscure thing imaginable, and I can get an answer. I can probably get 3 different answers and a discussion in seconds.
See, when I was learning hand stripping, I had a teeny tiny, she was about 4'10", Russian giant schnauzer woman who bred and showed. And
I already have trauma from you saying this story.
Dude, to this day, when I see a schnauzer, all I can hear is her in the back of my head going, inside elbow, Angie, inside elbow, because she didn't talk. She yelled. everything.
And she didn't mean it mean. She was just Russian.
She was
just
she was informing me. And so for like 3 weekends over like 3 months, it was like every other week, I would go to her house and I would groom 13 giant schnauzers. And I would get there 8 in the morning and I would leave at like 10 at night.
Mhm.
And she taught me, not with your wrist, whack. You use your shoulder. Use your shoulder. Do you want to not have a wrist? You won't groom in 5 years.
Mhm.
And so then I would, and she whack and stop hitting. Stop
Why
hitting
is learning so
lady.
painful?
Stop hitting small lady. And
small lady.
but I'll tell you, I learned so much from her, and I didn't realize, like, for the first day she kept yelling inside elbow at me, and she taught me how to like bevel that in, and I didn't know why until she said, now teeny tiny 4'10" lady goes over, grabs that giant schnauzer and goes and puts him on the floor.
Mhm.
And I'm like,
Mhm.
she was like 65 at the time.
Oh, built like an ancient dwarf. She had all her power down
Dude.
near the floor.
So she's like, watch inside elbow. So I had done the left side, but not the right. So when I'm watching the left side, watch the gate. So I'm watching and it's nice and smooth. She turned that dog around and walked it up this way. And that little piece of hair, when that dog moved, was enough to draw your eye, and it broke the gate while the dog was moving.
Mhm.
And I'm like,
Oh.
now I understand. Now I understand. To this day, regardless of the size of the schnauzer, all I can see every time I look at them is inside elbow, it's inside elbow. Now, keep in mind, I don't groom many dogs anymore, but when they come into the salon, she's there. She passed about
Your eyeballs are like,
right to the inside elbow,
Mhm.
and she passed about 10 years ago, but she's still with me,
Mhm.
and I learned so much from her. And she was my Google. She was, as somebody said, my Jiminy Cricket, because she is, Christopher said, she's like your Jiminy Cricket of hand stripping. And she will always be with me in my mind to tell me. And I had the last groom I did, the last hand stripping I did on a terrier, before I really stopped doing dogs. I was pulling them out and I popped my wrist and I could hear her go, Angie, Angie. And I'm like, I know, I know.
Did you feel the smack on your wrist too? Did you feel phantom pain?
I kind of did. I was like, I know, I know. I did bad. I won't do it again. I'm sorry. But that's how we learned back in the day, because we didn't have Google. I had Sam Cole's book that he had signed, and which I still have, and I had her. And then when she's like, "You know all the things. You done. Get out."
Thanks.
Thank you. And that was it. It was like, no,
I
get
leave
out.
now.
Okay.
This
And I
means-
just like packed up my stuff and I left. But then I went to a Brittany club and I learned the Brittany Spaniel. And that's what you used to do, is you just go find a breeder that showed and did that, and they would teach you. And you learned because you groomed. It's like, oh, well, I learned how to do double coated dogs because there was a chow breeder that had 30 of them. And I groomed one a week every week. And it would just roll. And that's how I learned to deal with double coated dogs for a show dog that was going in the ring, and you can't break coat and blah, 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 blah. That's how I learned.
Mhm.
And it was an incredible lesson. But she bred for temperament. They weren't like the crazy chows that are like, hey, your face. They were actually really nice. They were lovely dogs. And they were truly enjoyable. But my God, the work
Mhm.
was just.
Mhm.
But that's how we learned back then. That was, if you wanted to do something like that, that's what you did. You just rent a groomer
Mhm.
for free, and you brought your stuff, and you'd go to a dog show, and you'd be like, "Excuse me,
Mhm.
can you teach me about your breed?" And they'd be like, "How long have you been grooming?"
And then they'd hand you a bucket full of tools and call you a bucket bitch.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
If they liked you.
If they liked you, if they liked you, you got to be a bucket bitch.
Uh-huh.
Are we
Right.
allowed to say bucket bitch anymore? Or is that like not PC?
I don't
I
know. We're all old
don't
school here, so
know.
Yeah,
it'll
we're
always
old.
be bucket bitch to me. Always.
I don't.
That-
That's a really actual good question. We're in this talking about how things were. So
No, I totally get it. I'm 50,
Yeah.
so I get it. But I'm sure somebody's out there going, "You're not allowed to say that anymore."
We're assistants or we're whatever.
uh,
I'm like, whatever,
But anyway, so
so
we digress. So we don't want to inadvertently bash other groomers while bringing ourselves up.
yeah, toot your own horn. I want to see you tooting your horn.
Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful thing for you to show what you can do. I want to see it. I see some of the most amazing grooms, and there are a couple of them that when I see them come up in my feed, I'm like,
Mhm.
wow,
especially if you've seen them post when they're first starting and then you watch the growth. That is
Yes.
amazing. And
Yes.
you should be happy about what you did. You should be passionate about the work that you've achieved.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. No one will toot your horn better than you. So,
Oh.
by gosh, you should be out there telling people what you can do, or how will they know what you offer?
Yes.
Exactly.
But don't do it at the expense of someone else.
Yeah.
Right. You
Yeah.
can say that, look at this amazing groom I did. You do not have to add anything about any other groomer because they're not there.
It works the other way too, because there was a post a while ago where a groomer was frustrated because they could not get almost anything done on this dog. They were having issues. The dog, and the client was like, "Well, my old groomer and we don't want to hear that either. We don't want to hear, well, my old groomer could do this. Well, my old groomer could do that. Well,
Then why are you here?
well, there was moving involved, but what they didn't know, because
Get away
we
from the
tracked
groomer.
down the old groomer. Oh, we sleuthed the heck out of that and found the old groomer. And that was 5 or so years ago. The dog is now a senior. The dog now has XYZ issues.
Mhm.
I forget what all, but it was basically the dog that gave that first groomer no problems, different dog. That can go in both directions. Has the dog matured?
Mhm.
Did the dog have a bad experience in between? An accidental bad experience. I'm not saying somebody beat him. I'm not saying this. Some dogs, all it takes, and we have all quick to nail. So this is what I'm choosing, because so nobody can say. Some dogs, all it can take is one quick nail,
Mhm.
and that's it.
Or a
They're
different dryer,
done.
the sound of a different dryer, the sound of a different voice, somebody laughing in the back. Like, you don't know what their impression is going to be.
A guy with a beard that works in the salon.
Yes.
Well, so the scar, I have a scar on this hand. And when I teach my rabbit grooming classes, everybody says, I always know it's your hand because of the scar on the under the thumb. And I always go, oh, that's Angie's hand right there. And that was because of a dog that had a nail trim. The owner tried to do it home. It was during COVID. And she didn't understand about the quick. And she cut it all the way back,
Oh, ow. Surgically.
like all the way back. And so when the dog came in, never had an issue with him before then. He was a good boy for nails. Shepherd mix. When I picked up his foot to do his nails, he lost his marbles.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I got the scar here on my hand.
And and it was a dog you were familiar with. You'd never had
Groom him his
problems with
life.
before. Yes.
He was 6.
Mm-hmm.
This dog didn't have any issues. He was a push button dog. I thought mom proof. And then COVID happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then that happened. And he
It changed everything for him at that point.
did.
He had to be rehabilitated.
It took me 2 years of monthly grooming to get him back to all we have to do now is Angie scrubs his head, scrubby, and I do his nails.
Mm-hmm.
And he will allow that.
But he's still not 100% happy about it.
No.
I wouldn't be if somebody cut my whole toe off.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that would be
So-
hideous.
But that took 2 years to get him to that point.
Sure.
We're finally off the muzzle. But 2 years
Mm-hmm.
from that one incident. So I do understand that incidents can occur and it can affect them psychologically. I get that.
And from the comments in Pet Groomer Town Hall, we will be happy to know that bucket bitch is still a thing.
Okay.
Still very much a current thing. That was thanks, Amy. I know she currently shows, so still a thing.
Yeah.
And it's an honor. Being a bucket bitch is an honor.
It-
Look how much you get to learn from somebody who's
Yes.
allowing you to carry their tools and do
Yeah.
their bidding. Are you kidding me right now? That's amazing. What an opportunity.
I would 100% be someone's bucket bitch.
I
I don't
was
know.
many different breeders and
Yeah.
it was worth all the time.
What about bucket bitch for a competitor? Because I've seen some bucket bitches from the top competitors and they treat them awful.
Yeah, that is terrible.
Yeah, see, that's
More
different.
like, get me coffee, do this.
It's
do
one thing to be a demanding mentor. I'm okay with having a demanding mentor, and I've had, Monica Van de Ven, I love you. I've had a really harsh mentor, but you can't mistreat your people because then you're creating someone to do that to somebody else because that's how they think it goes. And it just comes to mutual respect. You have to mutually respect somebody who's just learning how to groom or just learning how to do something that you do, that you're training, because eventually they're going to become your colleague and they're going to remember how you treated them. And it could go one of two ways. They could love you for it and understand where you were coming from, or they can turn into a monster. So bucket bitches should get coffee, but they should get coffee because they want to, and they need you in top form so you can teach them more stuff.
Yeah.
It's a mutual relationship. So don't abuse your bucket bitches.
Yes, as someone who one day last week went, oh, I guess my leg is cramping because the liquids I have consumed today are coffee and then alcohol after dinner. So maybe I'm a little dehydrated. Maybe. So
That's like saying maybe grass is green.
well, I've heard there's bluegrass. And when dogs pee on it, gets yellow. So maybe if you're lucky.
It doesn't stop, Angie. It just doesn't stop. It can't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop. I didn't cuss though.
You didn't.
No, you were an angel.
You were.
Didn't.
Always. She is the consummate professional. And
A bleeping lady.
Right.
Come on.
That's
Don't you
my
forget it.
my line is because I'm a goddamn professional and an effing lady.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it.
So
I was close. I was close.
yes.
I was close. Oh my God.
Oh,
All right. So
It's
we are at
we should
9:08.
probably
Let me cue up
The fun fact.
the weird fact of the week. This is a really good one. I think
Okay.
I dig this.
I always
Oh.
wait to see if I know anything about it.
All
And I'm
right.
like,
Angie's Weekly Weird Fact.
So this weekly weird fact is that sea otters are the most densely furred mammal on the planet. Dogs have 15,000 hairs per square inch. Otters have 1,000,000 per square inch. 1,000,000. And they use tools. So they keep with them their favorite pebble, and they will carry it with them to open shells.
Angie's Weekly Weird Fact.
So
And
I
they're in probably top 5 to 10 cutest too. They're just
and they're violent.
that just makes them cuter, like chihuahuas.
Violent.
They're the
They
chihuahuas of the
are.
sea.
So can you imagine? So a coat density on a dog, 15,000 hairs, and they have 1,000,000.
Mhm.
Dude,
Well, they live in the water. They have to be waterproof.
Yes.
I know, but can you imagine trying to groom that?
No,
like-
Yes.
When I read
don't
that,
want
I was like, could you imagine trying to de-shed that?
Yes. I worked at the zoo. Yes.
You did. What was that like? Inquiring minds want to know.
I've also felt otter coats, like otter fur coats.
Oh.
Yes.
It's a really different texture. It's not soft like you think it is.
No, it looks coarse, like
It's
almost
super
like an
weird,
Angora
coarse
bunny
hair,
bark.
and it kind of sticks out like a porcupine, and it's super, super dense, and you really can't comb it. They self-groom through the
Do they
use
have
of their
undercoat?
oil glands. They're just a really neat animal, but they're really violent with each other and other animals that wander into their area. And I'm putting that nicely. They're not just violent for violence sake. They're violence because of happy time.
Oh,
Yeah, they do terrible things to other animals. But
I think I want
they're
one.
really, yeah, you have this vision of them just being all cute and they hold their babies while they float and all this other stuff, and they're adorable, but they're not that way. They're not like that. But yeah, I would pet one just like I would pet a polar bear. So
all right. I hope everyone
this is
watching
how-
and here and at Evolution Shears at home appreciates the amount of effort I'm putting into this,
right.
because I picked up on what you were laying down.
Yep, yes. Right. Facebook user that I don't know which Facebook user. Your border terriers do have an otter head. Yeah, they do. But yeah, animals are weird, especially when you just see them in picture books or on video, because they only film the cute parts mostly. You don't really get to see the inner core of their life unless you do a documentary or you have somebody obscure that works with them or works at a marine place, and then you get the inside scoop. But a lot of animals, I mean, they have a dark side.
Well, that's like bunnies. Everybody thinks bunnies are so cute and so
Mhm.
sweet and they're so fun. And they are. However,
Mhm.
bunnies are one of the most territorial animals that there are.
Oh, they'll kill each other.
And straight up, and
Mhm.
not just each other, but you as an owner, if you have not declared that this area is yours first, theirs second.
Mhm.
I actually posted a video somebody had posted that rabbits will often claim space, a rug, where it's a designated edge.
Mhm.
And when they claim that space, they will bite you if you walk on it.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
they are not screwing around.
Mhm.
And when they bite you, they will bite you so hard and so bad, you will need stitches.
And fast. Like they don't just chomp like a dog. They're like,
Yeah, it's crazy.
Mhm.
I tell people when they're learning rabbit grooming is completely transactional. In order to accomplish A, you must pay rabbit A, B, C, D, and E.
Mhm.
So you have to do all the soothing and pay and pay and pay. And it's like, okay, and here's your dandelion.
Mhm.
You have your treat, soothe, 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 soothe. And that's why, and then I can do the nails. And then in order to comb out the cheeks and pluck the maxillary area, now soothe, soothe, soothe. So this is why I recommend people who groom rabbits have two people so that one can do nothing but pay that rabbit in happiness.
Mhm.
Well, I do all the things that you would consider yucky.
Mhm.
And I have an assistant, Angie, who does, and yes, my assistant's name is Angie, for those that don't know. And we are the Angies.
Mhm.
And so she does that while I groom the bunnies. And the bunnies are great. And then from time to time, they will take that money and they will take it and try to do that at home. That happened with one of my giant Flemish. So here is a bunny, and he weighs 35 pounds.
Mhm.
Very, very big bunny.
Terrifying.
His feet are this big.
Mhm.
He has 7-inch ears. This is a big bunny. And he's sploot. So a sploot is a relaxed starfish.
Mhm.
And so he did that on my table every time he come in. He'd hop out of the crate, sploot, and Angie and I would groom him. Happy as a clam, perfect bunny. Dad thought he would do that at home and try to do his nails because he's so good.
Mhm.
He's so good. And my rabbit grooming price is 2 times an equivalent sized dog. So he did that. And his wife was holding him. And oh, he's such a good bunny until he went like this and he hit him in the nose, broke his nose, 2 black eyes, and they ended up taping his nose in place because he was hit so hard, his nose completely dislodged
Mhm.
and it got hiked over this way.
Mhm.
So it was like nose over here.
Moved.
Yeah.
So
they
all
had-
the cartilage came disattached.
yeah. They had to pull it back into place with tape.
Mhm.
So, and this is a bunny who, for me, is lovely simply because I know this is a transactional thing.
Mhm.
And I understand that. And he is paid well to do whatever it is I'm asking him to do. Dad forgot that.
Mhm.
So now dad comes in for his grooming and he sits there and he swears at the bunny the whole time because he's a perfect prince of a bunny and he sploots and he tooth purrs and goes, I just love grooming. And dad will flip him off and tell him he's a jerk because he's the one who gets up at 3:30 in the morning to give him his breakfast salad,
Mhm.
cleans his hay twice a day. Like he's basically his manservant.
Mhm.
And he broke his nose. And
Well,
when,
he didn't enter into the proper transaction. He was
So-
not paying the bunny correctly.
So
is what
He wasn't paying at all.
basically, what you're saying, Angie, is that look, that's no ordinary rabbit. That rabbit's got a vicious streak a mile wide. It's a killer. That's the
I
most
still think
foul,
I still think you
cruel,
should make it eat raspberries and film it.
bad-tempered rodent
think
you
it's so
ever set
funny.
eyes on. Now, Angie, I didn't plan that. I blame
planned it
you
any
for
better.
that
Oh,
because you heard me start something
I-
and you chose to take a drink of
did.
soda.
And I should have known better because, a little Dr. Pepper in the nose will really wake you up after a long day of work. Yeah, so that happened. Oh, you got
Okay.
me.
Now
You got me.
we've gone
Oh,
full Monty Python quoting.
yeah, I should have known. I should have known it was coming. Oh, whew, whew. All right.
Amanda has been so professional and patient during this bit. She's just like, these ladies are crazy. That's
Not
why
at
I
all.
love them.
Not at all.
She's known me now for 5 years. She knows I'm crazy. There's
Mhm.
that doubt has flown a long time ago.
Yep.
Yeah, we shared a house down in Hershey 2 years in a row. She has no doubt.
hmm Best time ever. Looking forward to it again.
Yeah, me too. All right. It is, wow, we've been at this quite some time and we have digressed over and over. So I guess the general gist is moral of the story, be kind. Even if that person would not necessarily extend that kindness to you,
You do it anyway.
do it anyway. Be the professional because you deserve to do that for yourself. And be the bigger person because why not?
Because why not?
Because why not?
Mhm.
And to answer a question, you'll definitely see me in Atlanta. So stop by the Evolution Shares booth and say hi. Angie, I know you're not going to be here.
Jazz is going for surgery on Friday. She's got her second cleft palate surgery
Mhm.
on Friday to hopefully help my little girl stop leaking food and water and spit out her face
Mhm.
all the time. So, if you guys want to send some fingers crossed on that one, because
Absolutely. Yeah, I will be in Teton and I'll be at Rocky Mountain Groom
I'll be at
Expo.
Rocky Mountain too.
And I might tentatively, oh so tentatively, maybe at Pet Pro in November.
Ooh.
So perhaps, but that's not solidified. It's not anything.
I
And
will
I know, Amanda, you're going to have a booth. Celtic Canine is having a booth at Groom.
I did some extra shopping today at Barclay, and I haven't let it out yet. You and Angie know. So I had booked a 6x8 booth, and anybody that goes to the trade shows, that's literally that size. I mean, if Marilyn and I bump backsides, something's going over. So it just wasn't sitting right. And I decided this morning at 4 a.m., okay, that's it. I rang Barclay and now I got a 10x10 and now it's not connected to anybody. It's a 10x10 standalone. I
Oh,
got no
nice.
neighbors, nobody to yell at me. Get those
Sweet.
people away from me. So yeah, it's definitely an upgrade. So we're very excited about that.
and I'm going to be helping in the booth, probably crowd control, on Friday because I'm teaching at Room Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, we'll talk. You'll need crowd control.
Hopefully.
Yes.
All right, guys.
Thank you all for coming. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was great.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
coming.
so much
Absolutely.
for coming. That was fun.
Safe travels, guys.
You
Good night.
See you at the show.
Night.
Night.